This is your Virginia Cavaliers Boston College game preview tale of the tape.
You are Locked On Virginia, your daily podcast on the Virginia Cavaliers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good day, viewers and listeners. I am your host, Big Law Lawrence Johnson, and welcome to the Locked On Virginia Cavaliers podcast as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your first place to come for your Wahoo fix every day. Of course, the date is 1/28/2023, and this will serve as the preview for the game today at noon in the JPJ. But first, let me give you our title sponsor. Title sponsor for this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On to get started. So yes, everybody, this will serve as your pregame, okay, for the big game Saturday. And it may not be as big, but it is definitely a game that we're going to have to, keep an eye on. I mean, I don't think that there's a lot of, a lot of fear going into this game. But I said before, it was a 5-leg trap game series that the Wahoos are getting ready to go through. This will be the fourth game. They've knocked down all the challenges previously. Now they're on that fourth game. And then, of course, the fifth game I was talking about is the one that they have for Big Monday. And that's the Syracuse game. But we'll also do a preview on that. But sit tight. We're going to give you this pregame and then also give you a postgame tomorrow or later today as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. Our Virginia Cavaliers are number 7 from the AP poll, and I don't see that going anywhere. I think that they should handle business against the Boston College Eagles. This is one of those schools that I don't know why, but I've never liked this school. Just personally, I've never felt like never ever cheered for a Boston College team for any reason. Sometimes, when you're watching sports, even if it's somewhat of a rival, you know, you could somewhat pull for a rival, because it'll benefit you in the long run, or, just different ways, that you can, root for certain teams, that aren't your regular team to root for. Never had that with Boston College. I don't know if it's the colors I don't like. I just, maybe the northern area I'm not, too fond of. Maybe I'm just so much of a Southern boy at heart that I'm just not into anything Boston. That means the Red Sox. That means the Celtics. None of it, and definitely Boston College. But they always have a strong fan base. They always have great following, and they always have great sports up there. But I don't think this is their Saturday. This is not going to be their Saturday. If they pull off this win, then we all should just leave the JPJ and not come back. I feel like this team is it is statistically one of the worst 3-point defensive teams in college basketball. And UVA shoots the 3-pointer as one of the best college teams in basketball. So that right there should give you some correlation. Also, you think about the Wahoo's defense. Their defense should really do the job and shut this team out. I'm looking for a big win here. But, this being the preview, I'm just going to throw some numbers at you, give you some stats about both teams and kind of give you my stance continuing as well, how I feel about this. Of course, I said this is the tale of the tape. UVA 15-3, 7-2. They need this win to continue to stay in second place to solidify their position as a game up on Miami. Because if they lose and Miami and UVA have the same record, Miami has the tiebreaker. So Miami would assume that second position, even though they have the same record. So it's important for the Wahoos to maintain this separation of this second place in the league, to continue to stay on the heels of a surprising Clemson team, which I never thought Clemson basketball would be in the number one spot this late in the season. I don't get it, with them, but they're playing some good basketball. You got to take your hat off to them, and they're keeping on. So right now, BC is 10-11. They are 4-6 in the conference, and they did have a big win. Well, I guess any win for them is really a big win. They beat Louisville, who, if I had to say a bigger surprise than Clemson being number one, is Louisville being at the bottom of the ACC, a perennial basketball power. Through their history, have always had good basketball programs. But for them to be at the bottom of the ACC with 0 wins, I believe, so far, in this season, I just couldn't have predicted that, for that program. But they are at the bottom, and they are currently bringing up the rear. But Boston College had a big win against them. I'll call it a big win for them. They're just trying to stay out of the cellar so they can continue to get to the tournament on a hot streak. But right now, UVA is averaging 78 points. I'm sorry. Let me hold on. Let me. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going fast here, but UVA is averaging 71.8 points and giving up 63.4 points. And why do I give you that stat? That shows that there is definitely a separation as far as the point spreads is what UVA is letting teams score to what they are putting out during the game, and that is definitely pretty good. Of course, the margin could be wider, but Coach Bennett does like to play a little bit more of a conservative game. He doesn't want to score too many points, if that makes any sense, because he doesn't want to give the other team extra possessions. They do play a slowed pace, which is to his liking, and which also plays into his strategy of limiting possessions and Virginia maximizing their possession with precision play on the half-court front. Although they have done something that I really requested and loved, and that is they have gone a little more up-tempo than they had usually. But UVA also one of the top three-point shooting teams in the ACC, shooting almost 42% from three, which is absolutely stellar, phenomenal for this team. And that's what they need in order to get back to the Elite Eight Final Four. This game will be on at noon tomorrow, and I believe it's going to be on the ACC network. You're going to have to get there early. It's a noon game, all right? Sometimes, people would get upset about those early football games, early basketball games. I don't get upset with it. You get in, get your sports fix, get the hell out, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. That's just my philosophy, guys. But I think it's great when you can get your sports and then have the rest of your day to do what you want, okay? But let's talk about something else, about doing something else we might want to do. The playoffs are here, and we're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On, because they're the number one sports book in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers join today to get started with $150 in free bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel has all the favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance for a bigger payout with a same game parlay. This is the season for betting, for sure. I talked a little bit earlier or yesterday about the The brackets, that all that is betting. Some people say, "Oh, I don't bet," but only time I will consider a bet is when I'm doing brackets. For the NCAA March Madness tournament. So this is the biggest time. Super Bowl. They're talking about all kinds of bets and prop bets, and the brackets from the NCAA March Madness tournament. Biggest time for betting right now. All of that's on the app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 free in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Pretty cool there with them. But back to this preview of University of Virginia and Boston College. I do plan on being in the house, so look for a now post game that I will do. I also will set up to do later in that day a post game show with my guy Casey Pazzalia from Virginia Game Day Podcast, and we'll talk about that game and then possibly talk about the game coming up with Syracuse, which will be pretty cool as well. But let me continue on and keep throwing you some of these numbers, and see so you can see some of the differences, with this team currently. And these are numbers based on the season. UVA points per game, 70 points per game, 70.3 actually. BC is scoring 66.3 points a game. So right there's a difference. Keep in mind, UVA, there's a stat that's going around where UVA is almost unbeatable when they score 70 points. This is what I can say. I remember the championship run and being in the stadium, watching these guys, and people would always reference the fact that analysts would make this assessment, scouts, whoever make that assessment, and would say, UVA being up on you by 10 points was equivalent to something similar to what the Boston Celtics used to do to teams in the 80s, in the mid 80s, where Larry Bird and the team, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson, DJ, and Ainge, they used to just wear you down, and it was just difficult to score on that defense because they played great team defense, which is a lot of what the University of Virginia is what they do. Whenever they get a lead on you, they grind you out, game in, game out. I've seen it happen, and that's kind of what this team is. Hasn't totally hit that point yet because they've let a lot of teams come back in games when they've had big leads because of their scoring droughts. But their defense can drown you out, and that's what like I said, if they can get back to that where they grind you out and they let the game just kind of salt away because you keep your defensive pressure up and they pretty much wear out. That's what University of Virginia wants. And that's when you'll see some of those point spreads get a little bit wider. Right now, Virginia is giving up 60.3 points a game, so that's a 10-point difference for what UVA is scoring to what they're giving up. But what I was saying was to speak about what I was speaking about just a second ago was when UVA was shutting teams down on that championship run. We used to say the first team to 50 would win, and UVA would always get to 50, typically first, and just grind the teams out. One of those years, they only lost 3 games, that they went to the Elite Eight and lost. But it's kind of the same thing here. It's almost like when they first team, they get to 70, they're scoring way more points than what Tony Bennett usually has scored. Is just because he has a versatile offensive arsenal of players in his cabinet to use, and he's using them to his perfection right now. But back to BC. BC's giving up 69 points, so they're scoring 66.3, but giving up 69.5. So they're used to getting scored on more than they score. Assist per game, of course, UVA's done a great job. They got 2 guys averaging 6 assists a game, Kihei Clark and Reese. 16.2 assists to 11.4 assists per game. That means they really love to distribute the ball and get the better the better shot, which is always what I look for. We like to call that the hockey pass. Steals. This is surprising. UVA, of course, averaging 6.9. Surprised that 6.8, excuse me, and Boston College is giving up or stealing the ball 6.9 times. So they play a tough brand of defense themselves. They just can't score. It seems they have some issues of putting it in the bucket, but they definitely can score. But you always want to keep your mind uh, moving in the proper direction with UVA, getting to the bucket, getting easier buckets, making your open shots so they can stay out of those droughts that the team is accustomed to getting into. Blocks, 4.8 blocks a game for the Wahoos. Boston College is blocking 3.7 blocks a game, almost four themselves. So they're getting after you. UVA shooting 50.2% from the field, which is a damn good percentage to be shooting for your team. Boston College is shooting 49.1%, which is also damn good for your team to shoot. But the thing about it is, if UVA shoots 50%, they're shooting 39% from three. That's where they get you. If they're making half their shots and they're shooting almost 40% from three, they're putting up some points and they're playing efficient in doing that. Also, for 29% is what BC is putting up. So UVA is putting up another 10 percentage points, almost 10 percentage points higher, in making their 3-point shots when they come down to it. But like I said before, this is a 7 o'clock game. I'm sorry. This is a noon game tomorrow or today, Saturday. And I can tell you this, there is not a worry about this game in particular. I mean, you always want to be careful and not overlook anyone. But there's a tough game after this coming up. And that is the Syracuse game, which is they like to call it Big Monday. And it's the game of the night. And this is what I can say. Let me do something here. I'm going to look for something that I missed. But this game that the Wahoos are going to play on Monday, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's hard not to when the team is doing this good. I think them traveling to Syracuse, playing at 7 o'clock on a Sunday, that's a one-day rest game, almost the equivalent of a back-to-back game. Like when you play in the tournament, you play on Friday, that means you'll play on Sunday, or you'll play Thursday, you'll play on Saturday. This is a great indication. This will be a good opportunity to see what UVA is about. Can they play those close games, those back-to-backs? And then they get a week break, and then or not quite a week, but a week break, and they come back and they got Virginia Tech. They got the rival coming or going to Virginia Tech, and they got, Virginia Tech has their all-star shooter back, Couture, who is a tough guy, man, and a hell of a shooter. Remember, he was the player of the year for the tournament against Virginia Tech. Against all the other players at Virginia Tech, and he wound up getting his team to the NCAA tournament based off of them winning the ACC tournament last year. So they're looking to go on another run. Doesn't surprise me that they're trying to get their stuff together and try to gear up for another run, because they're going to need it to get into the tournament, because their year has been tough. But I can tell you, Virginia, we are on a roll right now as far as playing in rhythm and getting further and further and closer together as team, with team chemistry. So we're talking about Boston College's players, Mackay, Ashton Langford, who averages 12.9 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2.3 assists. He is one of their guards there. They struggle. They don't really have anyone that shoots a high percentage of in shooting threes. Doesn't surprise me. As you are one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the nation. But Virginia used to be there last year. So I know what it feels like. And of course, they have another guard, Jaden Zachary, averaging 10 points, 3 rebounds, 2.4 assists. These guys get to the bucket, and get fouled and score points, just trying to score points in the way that they can. Then you got Quentin Post, who has been out of every game except for the last 8. And he's a forward averaging 15.3 points a game, 6.4 rebounds, and 0.9 and 0.9 assists. But he's only been playing for 8 games. So those numbers are kind of skewed. So, don't really take those numbers to heart, because he hasn't played a whole season. And, we're just configuring on a short amount of time period here. But let me give you my midseason MVP, my midseason defensive player of the year, and my midseason rookie of the year. And if these things hold out, we should be looking at a deep run into the NCAA tournament. So let me go ahead and cut this loose for you guys. We got the midseason MVP. And this may be a little controversial, but I'm calling Kihei Clark, man. Kihei Clark has played a great game, his best playing in a Wahoo jersey. And Kihei had his moments on both sides of success and of failures and mistakes. But right now, he's playing his best basketball as a Wahoo. He's leading this team. He's really showing what he's about. And no one ever talked about him getting a shot, or a tryout for an NBA team until about 2 weeks ago when they were talking about Kihei stealing the ball. He was playing in front of Steph Curry, and he was really he had his season high 20 points, I think 7 assists. Just really looked great, playing his game, and we'll see what happens with Kihei. But he's my midseason MVP, heart and soul of the squad, and he's just doing this thing. Best defensive player for midseason report of the year is none other than Reese Beekman, and it's not even close. I mean, they play a good brand of the pack line defense, but the tip of the spear is Kihei, but the anchor is Reese Beekman. Reese Beekman shuts down anything off of the wings when they go one-on-one. He's guarding their best perimeter or their biggest perimeter player. Got to give it up for Reese Beekman, defensive MVP midway through the season. And then let me give you the rookie of the year. It really wasn't any competition right now, and I don't know if Ryan Dunn can catch him, but it's pretty easy. Isaac McNeely, or as his new nickname, Isaac McThreely, is the rookie of the year. The man is shooting lights out from 3. He's shooting the best percentage on the team, damn near 50%, and has the cleanest stroke since Kyle Guy. Okay, the cleanest, pure stroke that you'll see. Everything looks like it's almost going in, whenever he's taking a shot. And I'm so excited and pumped to see what his future would look like moving forward, in a Virginia uniform. But my prediction for this game, I'm looking at 77-52. I'm looking for a blowout for UVA. I'm looking for them to get some of their younger players or some of their players outside of their 7-person rotation to come in, and get going, and give them some time. And Tony Bennett, he does a good job of this when they get up pretty good and they feel comfortable. Getting some other players some time, get those guys, lathered up and give them opportunity to get on the court at home as well, and that's always cool. But as before, this has been great. This is a midseason review. Of course, the game is at noon, and make sure you guys are there. I'll see you there. And then I'll do a post game with my guy Casey. And then I'll prep again because we have on Monday, come right back around. They have the game against the Syracuse Orangemen. Thank you for making Locked On Virginia your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place, plus hear from the big name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Thank you, guys. I'll see you in a little bit.